Hi students, and welcome to today's live IELTS class. My name is Adrian and I'm streaming to you from beautiful Victoria here in Western Canada. Students, today we're looking at an IELTS reading lesson. We will be reading about earthquake ready, meaning being ready in case an earthquake happens. This is an IELTS reading passage taken from our academic IELTS materials. However, this reading could be a Section 3 passage in the general version of the IELTS exam as well. Fatima Ariadna, welcome. Hi, Abraham. Carolina, nice to see your chat moderator. Everybody notice that Carolina is in blue in the chat. She's a moderator. She's here to help make this class flow smoothly. If you have questions, you can ask her. She is very familiar with the IELTS exam. Yusuf, William, Fatima, Ayadeji, nice to see all of you here with me today. Students, this lesson is presented to you by aehelp.com. For the academic version of the IELTS exam, please check us out there. For the general IELTS, check us out at gieltshelp.com. These are our websites. They power these live classes. They contain all of our materials, including many practice exams, lesson videos, an app for your phone, and lots more. The academic website looks like this. All you have to do to join the premium version of the course is click the big red button that's just off to my right there. It is a one-time payment for lifetime access, and it's well worth it. Costs about $40, $50. And you might save yourself hundreds of dollars if you don't have to sit the IELTS exam again. We're a British Council partner, an IDP affiliate, an IELTS test registration center, and we are here to help you succeed. The general IELTS, it's the green background, looks like this at gieltshelp.com. Again, just click the big red button. Okay, we're going to get into the reading passage here in just a moment. Those of you who are premium users, I have sent you your premium Zoom links, everybody. So those students who have premium access on those websites that I just showed you, they get 2 extra live classes like this each week. And again, if you want to become a premium user of the course, then all you have to do is enter those websites. Use the code DISH9 for a 10% discount. Okay. All right, everybody. Questions? Yes, I love questions. Adrian at aehelp.com or admin at aehelp.com if you have questions. Okay. All right, let's get into the reading, students. So here is our reading passage for the day. Again, the topic is earthquake preparedness. Now, an earthquake is when the ground starts moving, when it starts shaking. And so, excuse me, here we have this topic, and you always read the title of the passage before you read the passage. Don't try to save yourself time by skipping the title. The title prepares your mind. It gives you ideas. It helps you visualize or see what you're about to read. So always read it and think about it. Like, what is an earthquake? Okay, it's when the ground is moving. But what is it really? Well, it's when the plates that are on top of the earth, called tectonic plates, or continental plates, start moving. It's called tectonic shifts or continental shifts. So you start thinking about that. You think about what you learned in high school, in middle school about earthquakes. Okay. All right. And then you kind of breeze over the passage, but don't read it. Just check how long it is. You can see, okay, that's going to take about 10 minutes to read. And then you look at the questions. And you see that in the questions there are yes, no, not given, which means those are going to be facts about earthquakes. You don't read the statements because yes, no, not given, or true, false, not given questions are confusing to read before the passage. They contain lots of false and not given information often, so you don't read those. But then you look at these, and these are completing the sentence endings. So these are good to read because these are all in the passage, just the questions. So again, this is reading, everybody. So read with me. Okay. Number 18. The first step after waiting out aftershocks is to. Poor construction results in buildings that offer. Even otherwise well-constructed buildings may be at risk because they. Buildings along the west coast of North America and Japan are designed to. All right, so that's great. We read that. What we should be getting from this are some ideas like aftershocks. Okay, aftershocks are the little earthquakes or the smaller earthquakes that happen after the bigger earthquakes. Often there are these smaller tremors or aftershocks. Okay. Now clearly here we realize there's going to be some information about construction or the buildings. And we see that there's more of that. So well-constructed buildings. So we start to think about, well, how do we build these days for earthquakes, right? What do we do to make sure that the buildings are safer? We use special kinds of engineering. We use special materials to create these buildings, right? So we start to imagine those, and then of course it gives us even some examples like North America and Japan. So you should be visualizing this. You should be seeing this. Okay. All right. Okay, and most of us have either heard or some of us have even experienced earthquakes in our lifetimes. So this is an important topic, and it is relevant, and you should find it interesting. Now here we have one more set of questions. Usually these reading passages will have 3 to 4 sets of questions. In most cases it's 3. And here we have this earthquake planning as the topic. Okay, so again, this is all in the passage. It's basically taken from the passage but paraphrased, so using different words. And so we should read this before the passage. Again, it will give us more ideas, and it will help us to start thinking about these questions while we're reading and while we're visualizing. Okay, if you don't understand all the words, that is totally okay. You do not have to understand every single word in the questions. Don't try to spend minutes figuring out what each word means, okay? And I see Karthik Agavinti in the chat is saying, well, 20 is A. But you don't need to give an answer, Karthik. One other important tip is don't try to answer these. Even if you're like, oh yeah, that could be the right answer. It can be tricky. And if you lock your mind into the wrong answer, then you're going to give the wrong answer. So this is actually a really important tip. And I'm going to give you this as a note in the reading. So in the reading, and we're going to read, you're going to read, and you're going to answer these questions. I'm just going to help you. I'm going to guide you. So everybody who's here, get ready to read. It's not just me talking. You will be reading very soon and answering these questions. Okay, but here's an important tip, okay? Do not answer or even try to answer questions before you read. This often locks your mind into a potentially wrong answer. Okay, and then your mind is kind of stuck in that wrong answer. And even though you read the correct answer, because you've locked your mind into that wrong answer, your mind is no longer open to getting the right answer. So be very careful, okay, Karthik? All right, so be very, very careful. Everybody get that, right? So don't try to answer questions before you read. If you are going for those higher band scores like 7, 8, 9, you need to read the passage. Skimming and scanning will not work, okay? So just keep that in mind. Another tip here, skimming and scanning are ineffective strategies for bands 7 or higher. And if you say, well, Adrian, I got a band 7 by just skim reading, well, that's great, but the bad news is you probably could have gotten a band 8 or even a 9 if you didn't just skim read, okay? All right. Salman said it happened to me and my mind was locked for 7 precious minutes. Yes. Yeah, don't try to answer these questions before you read, okay? All right, so just breeze over the questions, okay? You're not like super focusing on the questions before you read the passage. The goal is just to kind of get an idea, okay? That's the only reason to look at questions before the passage, is to just kind of get an idea of what you're going to read. So here we go, everybody. Read with me. Earthquake planning. Planning is incredibly important for surviving an earthquake. They must make sure in advance that they have appropriate something to survive after the event. Something is the most crucial resource after an earthquake, since municipal sources may be damaged and unavailable. Conversely, something will be less scarce because it is less likely to be compromised in an earthquake. Some measures to take in preparation for an earthquake include storing medical supplies in a safe place, not hanging picture frames above your bed, and identifying something in your home and workplace. In the event of an earthquake, try to call for help using your phone, or if you are trapped, try something on a pipe. Okay, so I'm getting some ideas of, some safety supplies and actions that I need to consider in case of an earthquake. All right, now I go back and I read the passage. For the first reading, everybody, what we will do is we will listen to a British person read the passage from our website, and then you will read the passage and answer the questions through Zoom. Okay, so that's what we're doing in this class. All right, again, everybody, this is aehelp.com. If you are taking the IELTS exam, I strongly recommend signing up for our premium course. Click that big red button. One-time payment, you get lifetime access. And like I say, it's only about $40-50, and you have access to so many materials. You have computer-based practice exams, full online interactive course, printable books, tons of videos. These are all videos that you can watch for the different sections. And then you have your audio CDs, and that's what we're using right now. So in the audio CDs, this is exam 5, I think, that we're on. I'll double check here. It's in the, yes, it is. Exam 5. And it's the second reading, so it's going to be number 6 here. Okay, here we go, everybody. Let me just turn up the volume on my end. You should be able to hear this. I'll just double check and make sure. And then we're good to go. So here we go.
Why do tortoises live so long?
Earthquake preparedness.
There we go.
Of all natural disasters, earthquakes are likely to be the most devastating. Though earthquakes, most of the time, are only weak tremors which are not even strong enough to knock picture frames off walls, at their strongest, earthquakes can destroy entire cities, killing thousands and displacing millions. For regions of the world affected by earthquakes, being prepared for the big one is crucial to surviving when it eventually occurs. Earthquake preparedness takes 3 forms: education, construction, and planning. Those who grow up in earthquake zones are very familiar with so-called earthquake drills. These exercises take place multiple times each year in school, and students practice the appropriate steps to take in the event of an earthquake. The first step is to take shelter under a strong structure. In school, this is often a wooden desk. In the absence of such furniture, a door frame is recommended, as this is the strongest structural part of any room.
Make sure you're reading.
Next, drop to the ground, cover your head and neck, and only move if there is a safer place to seek shelter within short crawling distance. Keeping your head and neck covered are of critical importance, since falling hazards are one of the biggest dangers in an earthquake. Once the shaking has stopped, people are advised to wait for any aftershocks to occur. Many deaths and injuries occur during aftershocks, smaller earthquakes which occur shortly after the initial quake. So staying sheltered is recommended for up to 10 minutes after the main event. Once sufficient time has passed, people should get to open ground, taking care to avoid falling hazards, especially glass structures such as windows. One of the biggest factors that affects the number of casualties in an earthquake event is the quality of the construction of buildings that people work and reside in. In areas with poor construction standards, these buildings provide little to no protection against earthquakes. In the major earthquake that occurred in Haiti in 2010, poor construction standards were to blame for a large proportion of the casualties. While other countries have higher standards, often these standards are not designed with earthquakes in mind. Many buildings may be built to an otherwise high safety standard, but be almost as defenseless as the Haitian buildings when facing a strong earthquake. In high-risk earthquake zones, all buildings must be constructed with an eye to earthquake preparedness. Buildings in areas such as Japan and the west coast of North America are constructed to shift a certain amount along with an earthquake. This elasticity allows the building to survive the quake. Instead of shaking and being knocked down, they are shaken and return to their original place. This type of construction greatly minimizes the risk to inhabitants in the event of a major earthquake.
And make sure you're reading, don't just listen.
The final form of earthquake preparedness is planning. People in high-risk areas must have a plan for what to do in the event of an earthquake, and they must plan beforehand so they have appropriate supplies to survive in the initial days after the event. The most important resource after an earthquake is water, and it is recommended people keep enough water for a week, approximately 28 litres per person. Food will not usually be difficult to come by, but water, which relies on municipal delivery systems, which are very likely to be compromised by the quake, is precious. Other critical items such as medical supplies and personal documents should also be stored in a safe place so they can be retrieved after the event. Other measures which are useful to prepare for an earthquake are keeping a flashlight and whistle next to your bed, not hanging falling hazards such as picture frames over your bed, arranging a family contact person outside of your area, arranging a family meeting place, and identifying both hazards and refuge areas within your home, school, and workplace. In the event that you are trapped after an earthquake, do not struggle or kick up dust. Instead, try to make sounds such as blowing on a whistle or tapping on a pipe so that rescuers may locate you. If you have a mobile phone, use it to call or text for help. Earthquakes can be deadly. All the preparedness in the world will not help if a sufficiently large earthquake hits the wrong spot. What can be done, however, is to improve the chances of survival through education, appropriate construction, and diligent planning. Countless lives can be saved.
All right, everyone. So that's how you read.
Why do tortoises live
I'm just
so...
going to stop that for a second. your knowledge, that reading, so at that speed, that gentleman read this passage in 5 minutes and 18 seconds. Now, in the IELTS, to get a high score, you can read it at half that speed. Okay, half that speed. Even if you take 10 minutes and you have 10 minutes for the questions, you should be okay. But you need to read. You cannot just skim and scan the passage. It's not an effective strategy for those high band scores, okay? But if you're wondering how quickly would a native speaker read this at a comfortable speed to an audience, it's about 5 minutes and 20 seconds. Okay, everyone, so what we will do now is you will get a chance to read it again for practice. And we're going to do this through Zoom. So Zoom is a nice chat interface. Okay, here is the Zoom link. I'm going to put this into the chat. All right, so here it is. Let me just put this into the chat for you. Use this Zoom link to enter this Zoom session. I'm just going to start it now. And then I will take volunteers and students to read and answer these questions, and I will be here to guide you. Okay, so don't worry about making mistakes. Be brave. Don't be shy. Confidence is super duper important for the IELTS exam. Now, I'm not able to use my video in Zoom. I'm using my video for YouTube, of course, but you can use your video if you want. Just make sure you are aware that it is on. Okay, so again, the link is in the chat. And I can see there are already people joining in, which is fantastic. Very good. We have Sarbina, Abraham, Fatime. Students, to volunteer, you go to reactions in Zoom, and then you can raise your hand. And if I see your hand come up, just like you see next to my avatar here, this little yellow hand coming up, then you can read. Fatime has their hand up, so we'll get Fatime to unmute. Fatime, are you there?
Hey, sir, am I clear?
You're very clear. You're crystal clear. How are you, Fatime?
Fine, thanks for asking.
That's awesome. Fatime, where are you calling from?
Iran.
You're in Iran, okay. And I think I heard your voice before, am I correct?
Yeah, this is my third time being volunteer.
Third time. That
Yeah.
means you must like it. You're back for a third time.
Actually, I'm scared.
You're
So
scared.
I just want to give it a try, yeah.
Okay. All right. Well, it's nothing to be scared of. We're just going to do a bit of reading. So you see the text on your screen?
Yeah?
Okay. When you're ready, go ahead and just read the title and read the introduction.
Okay. So, earthquake preparedness. Although natural disaster, earthquakes are likely to be the most devastating. Though earthquakes most of the time are only weak tremors which are not even strong enough to knock picture frames of wall. At their strongest, earthquakes can destroy entire cities, killing thousands and displacing millions. For regions of the world affected by earthquakes, being prepared for the big one is crucial to surviving when it eventually occurs. Earthquake preparedness takes three forms: education, construction, and planning.
Okay. First of all, Fatime, no, we'll just talk for just a quick moment. So Fatime, first of all, your reading is fantastic. So with your reading speed and fluency, you should have no problem reading the passages and then thinking about the questions and the answers in a correct step-by-step way. So this is the introduction, arguably the most important paragraph in the entire passage, because it contains your thesis statement. Do you know what is the thesis statement in the introduction here?
Yeah, it's going to say that how an earthquake can affect people and their lives, and what should we care about when an earthquake happens.
Okay, you're right. There's a much more technical way to do this. So much more like a math equation. So much more technical. So read the title again.
Earthquake preparedness.
Okay, so this is what the passage is about, right? It's about being prepared for an earthquake. That's what it's about. Yeah. That's the goal of the title, to make you realize that, okay, this is what we're going to be discussing about. And then in the introduction, the author will define that. And they define it, they give the definition with the thesis statement. And the thesis statement is usually the last sentence. It's the last one or two sentences of the introduction. In this case, it's the last one. Can you read the last sentence in the introduction one more time?
Yes. Earthquake preparedness takes 3 forms: education, construction, and planning.
Okay, good.
So it's going to say that...
Yeah, go ahead, Fatima. So what is it going to say?
It's going to say that in what forms should we be prepared in case we encounter earthquake. We need educational and constructional, and even we have to plan for the future if it happens.
Exactly.
Now we're going to discuss on this.
Exactly, and in this order. So if we look at the next paragraph, it says, those who grow up in earthquake zones are very familiar with so-called earthquake drills, these exercises. So immediately it talks about education. So the order of the order of the 3 is not random. It's purposeful. The author is basically telling you, first, I will talk about the education. Then I will talk about the construction. Then I will talk about the planning. So it's also telling you the structure, right? So it's very, very important to pay attention to this when you're doing the reading, because it's really helpful for answering questions and having a clear understanding and remembering what you read, okay? So that's what you have to really pay attention to. Fatima, is that like a little bird in the background that's chirping?
Oh, sorry. Yeah, it's my bird.
Is it a parrot?
It's a cockatiel.
It's a cockatiel. That's so adorable.
Cockatiel, yeah.
Yeah, that's awesome. That is, I love those background sounds. They're great. There's nothing wrong with that at all.
Natural.
She or he? Do you know if it's a boy or girl?
I don't know yet. I have to take him or her
to the
vet. Medical center.
Yeah, it's hard to know with birds. Well, whether it's a he or she, I'm sure that they are adorable, and I'm happy they're there to keep you company while you're studying. Fatima, thank you so much for reading the introduction.
Thank you too for having me.
Okay, all right, stay tuned. We'll get through the rest and then answer some questions, okay?
Okay.
Okay, bye, Fatima.
Bye.
All right, everybody, give Fatima a thumbs up. That was really good. She read the introduction, and the important point there, everybody, remember, introductions contain the thesis. The thesis contains the main points. The main points are giving you also the structure of this, okay? So I can see there are lots of people in here, which is great. Let me just mute everybody. A couple of people have themselves unmuted. There we go. And we'll give somebody else a chance here to volunteer. Okay, let's give Juan a chance. Juan has, I think, not had a chance. A long-time student of ours. Juan, why don't you unmute yourself?
Hello?
Hi, Juan.
How are you?
I am doing super. How are you?
I'm doing great.
How is winter down south in Argentina?
It's actually less cold these days. So
it's mild. The correct English is it's mild.
It's mild, yeah.
You can say it like this. We're having a mild winter so far.
We're having a mild winter so far.
Mm-hmm. Global warming is real. I agree. All right, Juan, let's get into this. So earthquakes, when you see paragraph 2, those who grow up, just go from there.
Okay. Those who grow up in earthquake zones are very familiar with the so-called earthquake drills. This exercise takes place multiple times each year in school, and students practice the appropriate steps to take in the event of an earthquake. The first step is to take shelter under a strong structure. In school, this is often a wooden desk In the absence of such furniture, a door frame is recommended, as this is the strongest structural part of any room. Next, drop to the ground, cover your head and neck, and only move if there is a safer place to seek shelter within short crawling distance. Keeping your head and neck covered are of critical importance, since falling hazards are one of the biggest dangers in an earthquake. Once the shaking has stopped, people are advised to wait for any aftershocks to occur. Many deaths and injuries occur during aftershocks, smaller earthquakes which occur shortly after the initial quake. So staying sheltered is recommended for up to 10 minutes after the main event. Once sufficient time has passed, people should get to open ground, taking care of to avoid falling hazards, especially glass structures such as windows.
Perfect. All right, Juan, and everybody listening to Juan, I hope that while Juan was reading, you visualize this, okay? So it's very visual, right? It's like one of those scary natural disaster movies. The one that comes to mind is with Don Johnson, The Rock. I think it's actually called Earthquake, where he's running around in this insane earthquake. Anyway, Juan, in an earthquake, why should I cover my head and my neck?
Well, if I injure my neck or my head, my life is at risk, right?
Yeah, but if I injure my heart, for example, I could also perish. If I injure my carotid arteries in my legs or in my arms, I could also perish. So why am I covering my head and my neck?
Because it could be a chance to be knocked and maybe unconscious.
Why?
Because if I have I don't know, if something falls to my head, I can get knocked and not be able to move.
Okay, right. So the simple answer is the biggest danger in an earthquake are falling hazards, right?
Falling hazards, yeah.
And falling hazards are much more likely to hit me in my head and my neck than they are in my leg or my foot or my arm, right?
Yeah.
Okay, so that's, or my groin, God forbid, right? So that's why, right? So that's the main reason I'm covering my head and my neck. I've got a hard head. It's a hard skull, but not hard enough to save me if a big stone structure fell on my head, right? So those are the biggest. So you really have to, again, pay attention not just to what's inside your head. We all have ideas about earthquakes and we all have ideas about our body, but we have to really pay attention to what the expert is saying, right? All right, Juan, thank you so much for reading, and hopefully none of us ever have to experience such an event, but you never know. All right, Juan, thank you.
Me too. Thanks to you.
Bye, Juan.
Bye.
All right, that was Juan chiming in from Argentina. Okay, let's keep going. Let's see who else is here. Do we have some more volunteers? Yusuf, there's a volunteer. Neymar, thank you for the clap and encouraging.
Hello.
Hi, Yusuf. How are you?
I'm fine. How are you?
I'm doing fantastic. Yusuf, where are you calling from?
I'm calling from Turkey.
From Turkey, right. I remember now. Yusuf, yes. Okay, Yusuf, you should see the next paragraph, one of the biggest factors. Go ahead and read from there, please.
Okay. One of the biggest factors that affects the number of casualties in an earthquake event is the quality of the construction of buildings that people work and reside in. In areas with poor construction standards, these buildings provide little to no protection against earthquakes. In the major earthquake that occurred in Haiti in 2010, poor construction standards were to blame for a large proportion of the casualties. While other countries have higher standards, often these standards are not designed with earthquakes in mind. Many buildings may be built to an otherwise high safety standard, but be almost as defenseless as the Haitian buildings when facing a strong earthquake. In high-risk earthquake zones, all the buildings must be constructed with an eye to earthquake preparedness. Buildings in areas such as Japan and the west coast of North America are constructed to shift a certain amount along with an earthquake. This elasticity allows the building to survive the earthquake instead of shaking and being knocked down. They are shaken and return to their original place. This type of construction greatly minimizes the risk of inhabitants in the event of a major earthquake.
Joseph, that is awesome. Great reading. This word is tricky to pronounce. It's Haitian. So it's Haiti,
Haitian.
And then Haitian. Yeah, the pronunciation has to change there. It's a tricky one. Joseph, question. Are all good quality buildings in the world earthquake proof? So do all good, well-constructed buildings in the world resist earthquakes?
Not really. It's not always the case, but of course it is an important factor to consider good standards of a building.
Where is it the most important to consider this factor, according to the passage?
In earthquake-prone zones.
Like what?
Like the North America, west coast of North America, and in Haiti.
Yeah, where they had and Japan, right? It said Japan.
Yeah.
Okay, one more question. The ability for an earthquake-proof or an earthquake-designed building to move, to kind of shift back and forth. What is that called, according to the experts? It is
called elasticity.
Okay, yeah, very good, Joseph. Your money. That's awesome. You know what's going on.
I'm actually a civil engineer, so I know about these things.
I remembered that, Joseph. I remembered that. I knew that when I was asking you these questions, that you're a civil engineer, so you study about. So that for you to kind of read this passage is a bit lucky if you get it in the IELTS, and that happens sometimes. And students, if you have a passage that is connected to your major, definitely start with that passage. It gives you confidence. It makes you feel good that you're knowledgeable. So start with that one. So even if it's like a second or a third passage, like this one's a second passage, when you get to the reading section, look at the topics. And if you're like, hey, wait a second, earthquake preparedness, I study about earthquake buildings or earthquake proofing buildings, this could be easier for me to understand, then start with this one. Don't start with passage 1. Okay. All right. Usually passage 1 is supposed to be the easiest, but if passage 2 or 3 is your major or very close to what you're learning, then it might be better to start with that one. Okay?
Okay.
All right. Joseph, that was really good reading. Thank you so much. Hang in there. We'll finish this up and then get to the questions, okay?
Thank you.
All right. Thanks, Joseph.
Hi, sir.
All right, so let me just get somebody else in for the next paragraph here. Let's see who is available. Abraham, you've been very patient. Can you unmute yourself, please?
Hi, sir.
How are you, Abraham?
Oh, I'm fantastic today, sir.
All right.
It's 8 p.m. in my country, but I still confidence to take a volunteer in your reading class.
And you're in Indonesia, correct?
Yes, I'm living in South Sumatra province and now living in Batu Raja city, which is 250 kilometers from the main capital.
And it's definitely an earthquake zone, if I'm not mistaken.
Yes, my country is located in Ring of the Fire, and we had experienced earthquake disasters, and the biggest one in 2018 when it attacked Palu, Sulawesi Islands, and caused tsunami.
Yeah, I remember that. That's scary. Yeah, I'm on the other side of the Ring of Fire here in Vancouver Island, so I know very well. All right. So Abraham, you and I, we definitely want to know this information. It's important to us, right? All right. When you're ready, Abraham, the final form of earthquake preparedness is planning. Go ahead and read that, please.
Okay, sir. The final form of the earthquake preparedness is planning. People in high-risk areas must have a plan for what to do in the event of an earthquake, and they must plan beforehand so they have appropriate supplies to survive in the initial days after the event. The most important resource after an earthquake is water, and it is recommended people keep enough water for a week, approximately 28 liters per person. Food will not usually be difficult to come by, but water, which relies on municipal delivery system, which are very likely to be compromised by the quake, is precious. Other critical items such as medical supplies and personal documents should also be stored in a safe place so they can be retrieved after the event. Other measures which are useful to prepare for an earthquake are keeping a flashlight and whistle next to your bed, not hanging falling hazards such as a picture frames over your bed, arranging a family contact person outside of your area, arranging a family meeting place, and identifying both hazards and reviewed area with your home, school, and workplace.
All right, good job. Abraham, question. How many of these do you follow? Do you have water at home? Do you have a refuge area contact person in mind in case? I know I'm putting you on the spot, but I am curious.
It depends on how many people inside the home. My home is consists of 3 people, so I should 90 100 liters.
Mm-hmm. And do you have water stored up?
No, 90 liter.
And do you have that?
Water.
Abraham, do you have that right now?
Yes, we have a water storage in bathroom and in the kitchen.
Perfect.
We had experience of blackout after after flooding, and then after that incident, we decided to buy water storage tanks in case that there's emergency.
Very smart. Very smart.
Yeah, piping water system breakdown and blackout, and we don't have water resources. So
yeah.
And we learn after that.
Yeah. And so what you're talking about, the water system, that's the municipal delivery system. So the municipal delivery system is the central system. And, a lot of people think, oh, the water comes when you turn the tap. But just last month, we don't have Sarah here, but Sarah, a regular student, she's in Canada, in Calgary. And Calgary is a big city. It's more than 1 million people. It's 1.5 million or something. And that's here in Canada, which is considered a wealthy country. And a month ago, almost half of the city of Calgary did not have water supply for a week because the municipal system broke. It wasn't maintained properly. It broke, and people were stuck without water. And this isn't, this wasn't somewhere where there's less money. This is in Canada, right? So people have to be smart. They have to prepare. We don't have water. Water is not a guarantee, right? So it's really important to store water because we get thirsty. It's a big problem, right, Abraham?
Yes, right. Water is very vital We might don't get food, but we cannot
We cannot
have
go without water.
without water. So water is very precious, very vital for our life. And in case of natural disasters, the first thing we look is water.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Yeah, and just repeat this word after me, Abraham. Vital.
Vital.
Very good. Abraham, thank you for volunteering. That was great.
Oh, thank you, sir. Thank you for having me.
Absolutely. Bye, Abraham. All right. Abraham, always such a good student and clever at that. All right, let's go to William. William, unmute yourself, please.
Hello, sir.
How are you, William?
I'm fine. How about you?
I am doing quite well. Thank you for asking. All right, William, help me wrap up this passage, please. Can you read the conclusion?
Okay. In the end, that you are trapped after an earthquake, do not struggle or kick up dust. Instead, try to make sounds such as blowing on a whistle or tapping on a pipe, so that rescuers may locate you. If you have a mobile phone, use it to call or text for help. Earthquakes can be deadly. All the preparedness in the world will not help if a sufficiently large earthquake hits the wrong spot. What can be done, however, is to improve the chance of survival throughout education, appropriate construction, and diligent planning. Countless lives can be saved.
And that's the take-home message, right? Education, appropriate construction, diligent planning, countless lives. So many, many lives can be saved. Yeah, like in Haiti, a lot of people could have been saved with good construction. Okay, William, great reading. You're going to help me a little bit with the questions as well, okay?
Okay.
All right, so let's do this yes, no, not given. Okay, everybody, so if you're new to the IELTS, there are lots of different types of questions. There are 11 different types of questions. Again, if you're curious about that, everybody, if you go to your My Student account at aehelp.com, your full online premium version of the course will include all 11 question types and strategies for that. We're going to just look at a few here with William today. We'll look at yes, no, not given. So basically here, William, you have to figure out, is this fact true according to the passage? Is it false according to the passage? Or is it impossible to know the answer but just by reading the passage? Okay. Now there's a step-by-step kind of computer logic, like an if this then that computer logic that we can use here. And I'll show you how that works. William, read number 14 for us, okay?
Most earthquakes are strong enough to cause some damage.
Okay, so here, the first step, William, is always, okay, let's figure out if this is given or not given. So it's kind of like a two-step process. So first, we want to go, okay, is it given or not given? So given or not given. And the way that we figure that out is we try to think about the importance of the statement. So for this passage, earthquake preparedness, is it important to know the strength of an earthquake? So whether or not they can be strong or not strong. So is that important information?
Yes, it is important.
Okay, so it's important.
Yes,
so if it, okay, I agree with you. And so if it's important, then it's given. Okay, if it's not important, then you just go not given, you go not given, and then you go to the next question. Don't waste 5 minutes trying to figure out and rereading the passage. Okay, there's no point in doing that. But if you think, well, that's probably given, we should know the strength of an earthquake here, then you go to your next step and you go, okay, is that true? Or is that false? So is it a fact or is it not a fact? Is it a yes or is it a no? So most earthquakes are strong enough to cause some damage. Is that true or is that false, William?
I think that is true.
Now, this is the tricky part. Sometimes some of these questions are tricky. If you live in earthquake zones, like if you live in Japan or if you live in Indonesia or if you live where I live in Victoria, you probably know the answer to this. And it's not...
I live in Indonesia.
Okay, and then, okay, well, here's the question then. How many earthquakes do you have in a year, William?
I actually don't know the answer because I live in the capital city where there's no actually earthquakes there.
Yes, there are. Yes, there are. If you do the research, William, and maybe you just didn't, you haven't, it's not something that you paid attention to, or that we can't learn everything in our life, right? But we have, so
Right.
even in Victoria, where I live, we actually have hundreds of earthquakes every year. Japan, they have thousands. There in Indonesia, if I'm not mistaken, you also have thousands of earthquakes every year. And if you work in seismology or geography, you know this. You know that, oh, okay, there are thousands. Yosef, who works in civil engineering, probably knows this, that even in Turkey, there are hundreds of earthquakes every year. Thankfully, though, do you know why we don't know that? Because you don't feel
Cool.
them.
Why?
Because you don't feel them. You don't feel
Oh, yeah.
most. You don't feel most of those earthquakes. They're just very, very small. So okay. Well, let me ask you this. So here's some more critical thinking. And students, critical thinking is super important for the IELTS exam. So earthquakes are measured on a scale, right, William? What's the scale? So what
Yeah.
what number is it? 1 to 100, 1 to 1,000? What's the number for that scale?
I think it is 1 to 10, right? If I'm not wrong.
Yeah, exactly. 1 to 10. It's called the Richter.
Magnitude or something.
Yeah. Magnitude. It's called the Richter scale. The Richter scale. Yeah, exactly. How strong does an earthquake have to be on that Richter scale for you to feel it? You probably know this.
Above 5, maybe?
Yeah, okay, good. Yeah, you're right. I think it's about a 3 to a 5. It depends on how close it is to the surface. It's about a 3 to a 5. So if you're thinking critically, William, you're starting to realize, like, oh yeah, wait a second, there must be a lot of earthquakes that are like a 1 or a 2, right? But you don't feel those. You don't feel those 1, 2s, and 3s. And thankfully, most of those earthquakes are 1, 2s, and 3s, and you don't feel them. Okay? So let's go back to this question. Most earthquakes are strong enough to cause some damage. Yes or no?
No.
No, you're right. Now, you're like, well, Adrian, that's great. Fine. You just taught me how to think about Richter scales and earthquakes and yes or no's. But let's say you're in the IELTS exam and you're too nervous and there's no way you're going to think like this, right? It's fair argument.
Right.
It's a fair argument. So in this case, then, where should we go? What should we do? So if I'm like, I don't know, it's a maybe, then what should I do?
We should read the passage one more again.
And
One more time.
where? We shouldn't just randomly read all over the place. That's going to take way too much time. We can't read a whole passage for one
first-
question. The first,
Because
yeah.
I think that alt is like it continues from the up from the down, so I think we should read from the up.
Yeah,
like around
yeah.
the top
And it
part.
sounds like this is in the introduction. So this kind of information, if you look logically, right? You're thinking, well, where would the author explain the strength of an earthquake? It makes sense to explain that at the beginning, right? So read the first 2 sentences, please.
Of all natural disasters, earthquakes are likely to be the most devastating.
Mm-hmm.
Though earthquakes most of the time are only weak tremors which are not even strong enough to knock picture frames off walls.
Okay. So, and it's not knock, it's knock, silent K, knock. Knock
Okay.
off, knock off. Knock off means to make them fall, right? So there's your answer. So they're not strong enough to even knock picture frames off the wall. So it doesn't say that they don't cause damage. It just explains it with this example that they're not even strong enough to knock picture frames off the wall, right? So it's in the beginning right away. The author says, hey, look, most earthquakes you don't need to worry about. It's just those big ones that you have to concern yourselves with, okay? All right, so good. William, I appreciate you helping me to explain some of this. Thank you for volunteering.
Right, thank you for having me, Mr.
All right, you're very welcome. And William, remember, logic, critical thinking, and the information that you know, it goes a long way. You know more than you think, okay?
Okay,
All right, bye, William.
bye.
All right, that was William. Brilliant. Let's take Rajashekar ready. Rajashekar ready. Can you unmute yourself, please?
Hi, sir.
Hi, Rajashekar. How are you?
I'm fine, sir. How are you, sir?
I'm doing great. Thank you for asking. Rajashekar, are you ready to help me with 1 or 2 questions?
Yes, sir. Sure.
Okay. All right. So let's take a look at number 15. Can you read number 15 for me, please?
So which question I have to read, sir?
Number 15.
Number 15.
Mhm.
Okay, sir. The strongest part of a room is fastest away from a window that can shelter.
Okay, so like I talked about with William, first we figure out if it's given. Is it important to know what the strongest part of the room is for this
Yes, sir.
passage?
Window, sir. Window is the strongest room, sir.
No. Don't answer the question, Rajashekar. Don't answer the question. First, figure out if it's given or not given. Is it given? So, should we have this information in the passage? The strongest part of a room during an earthquake. Is that an important idea, or is that an important concept for this reading passage?
No, sir. It is not given, sir. When I was reading this passage, I observed.
I think it is important. I think for being prepared for an earthquake, I think it's very important to know what is the strongest part of the room. So I think this should be given. Okay, think logically, Rajashekar. This should definitely be given. If I'm teaching somebody on how to prepare for an earthquake, I will definitely explain to them that they need to take shelter or hide at the strongest part of the room. Okay, when we're learning about this earthquake preparedness, what is the strongest part of the room? So it's definitely important. For sure it's important. So it's important, it's given. Okay, and according to this passage, what is the strongest part of the room usually?
Window, sir. The window is actually.
Would you stand beside a window in an earthquake?
No, sir. No, sir. I at the corner of the room I will stand here because when the
look at the chat.
bishop when the
Look at the chat, Rajasekar. So look at what some of your classmates are saying. Yusuf is saying you should stand under the door frame. The door frame is very strong. And if you don't have a door frame, you should go under a...
Under the bed, sir.
Under the bed or under a table, exactly. So is the strongest part of a room furthest away from the windows that can shatter? The answer is?
No, sir.
No, exactly.
No, sir.
So both the first one and the second one are no, the correct answer. Okay, no. So keep your thoughts simple, everybody. For true, false, not given, and yes, no, not given, you have to use logic mostly to answer the questions. If you're searching for the answers in the passage, you will waste a lot of time and you can still get them wrong. So you have to use just very good logic for these. Okay. All right. Rajasekar, let's go to number 18. This one is complete each sentence with the correct ending. So go for it. Can you read number 18 for me, please?
So, 18th one, sir.
Number 18.
1 minute, sir. 1 minute. The first step after waiting out outer aftershock is to.
Okay, so here, don't worry about the answers. Answer it on your own. Okay, so before you look at the choices, always think about your own answer. So the first step after waiting out aftershocks are those smaller quakes, is to do what? So there's a big earthquake and then there are little shakes after. What do you do after it stopped?
So after completion of earthquake, I will see the outside, sir. Whether it's any disturbance is coming or people is there or not there.
So you're going to go outside, right?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Okay, because you don't want the house that's probably badly damaged or
Yes,
the
sir.
building to fall on top of you, right? So you're going outside to some open area, correct?
Yes, yes, sir.
Yeah, that's probably a smart move. Okay, so now find the answer that matches. Look at A, B, C, D, E, F, G. Are any of those answers the same or similar to what you just said?
Okay, sir.
A, B, C, D, E, F, or G. Which one's the most similar to what you just said?
I think, sir. B, sir. B.
Absolutely, and that's the correct
B.
answer. Yeah, you leave the building and
Yes, sir.
find open ground, right?
Find open ground.
Yeah.
Yes, sir.
Yeah. So then you read it. The first step after waiting out aftershocks is to leave the building and find open ground. Correct answer B. Okay.
Yes,
So the correct method for these types of questions, everybody, is read the question, don't look at the answers, think about the answer yourself, and then match the answer. Okay, one of the most common mistakes everyone Rajasekar, is people just start looking at the choices and then they choose the wrong one because they're not thinking about the answer. Okay, so you have to think about the answer first. Okay.
Okay, sir.
All right, Rajasekar, thank you so much. That was really good.
Okay, sir. Thank you, sir. Sir,
Yes.
sir, I'm a big fan of you, sir. Sir, because of I'm listening your IELTS speaking test daily, sir, and practicing your daily videos, sir, for preparing for masters, sir, for IELTS test.
I'm flattered, Rajasekar. That's very kind of you to say that. And I appreciate you for
Yes, sir.
saying that. Keep up the good studies.
Yes,
Come
sir.
back again, volunteer again, and we'll practice more. Okay?
Okay, sir. Thank you, sir.
All right. Thank you. Okay, everybody. So we're going to stop the Zoom session there. I know we had more volunteers and we had more questions. You can answer these questions, everybody, and even these ones here, and then send them to my email. I can send you the answer key after. Okay. And thanks to all the volunteers. That's it for this reading class. Tomorrow we'll have a speaking class, and in that speaking class you will have a chance to volunteer and speak with me and answer questions in the Zoom, just the same. Okay, now if you like this session and you want more of these classes, we have Zoom classes every Thursday and Friday for our premium users. So premium users get 2 more live classes each week. They are through Zoom. I send the Zoom links out every week. Premium users, you already have them. I sent them. If you don't have them, send me an email and I will send these to you. And to sign up for the premium package, everybody go to aehelp.com, which is this website here. Click on the big red button. That's just right there. It is a one-time payment for lifetime access. And you get tons of videos and tons of help. Carolina, thanks for putting the URL in the chat. Thank you, everybody, for joining. William, just send me an email and I'll get that to you. Ariadna, you're super welcome. And hope to see all of you tomorrow. General IELTS students is gieltshelp.com. Have an awesome rest of your day, everybody. Much love to all of you wherever you are. I'm Adrian, signing out from Victoria for now. Visit us at aehelp.com and gieltshelp.com for lots more. Bye.